Yeah, my name is Quarter Simmons. I am also a drag queen known as Cacophony Daniels. I am also an actor, but that's not happening right now during COVID. It found me actually away from home. I was in Tucson, Arizona doing a play there. March 13th was supposed to be our opening night. The rest of the run of the play was canceled, and we just stayed there. Things were also closing down here in New York, so we thought it best for our family that my husband and my son join me there in Arizona rather than having us be apart. So they flew out there, and then the pandemic kind of stretched beyond what we thought it would be. Arizona Theater Company was really kind and let us continue to live in the company housing. So we spent the next 3 months kind of biding our time. My husband is working, my son is going to school, and I'm kind of cleaning a house that's not mine. I was contacted by a producer that I work with doing drag brunches up in Connecticut when I'm not, in between acting gigs, and I went with the model that he had and started doing a weekly show on Tuesday because I didn't have any friends who were doing drag on Tuesday nights. I had a friend who was doing Thursdays and she started doing Sundays as well. Another friend who was doing Mondays and Friday. I said, okay, I'll just do Tuesday because no one's doing Tuesday. Plus, then I got to say, see you next Tuesday when I signed off of every show. As we've gone on this past week, I did show number 25 of In Isolation. A big part of my shows is requesting things. I'm very political in my shows and very critical of our current administration, to say the least. Everyone requests that I sing my Donald Trump is a bitch song every week. And then it's, oh my gosh, I love this song. I hadn't thought about this in forever kind of thing. There are middle-aged women with kids and grandkids watching, and there are 20-something gay men watching, so it's this great amalgamation. Well, it can be upwards of 200 people. I love my husband and my son, right? But it's just the three of us, right? So being able to communicate with a group of people online in that way really kind of quiets something in me that gets too loud if I'm not. And, not for nothing, gives me a way to make a little money too. I have a woman who watches the show every week in New Zealand. She is the aunt of someone else who watches the show. And now everyone just calls her Aunt Pat, and, oh, Aunt Pat said this. I don't know that Aunt Pat would spend an hour virtually with her nephew every week if it wasn't for this drag show that they both like to watch. I don't know that they would have that relationship if it wasn't for this drag show. People often say, this is the best night of my week. I have so much fun. And it can really inflate one's ego to say, oh, well, that's all about me. But really, it's about this group of people who have come together to celebrate and escape, everything that we can't escape right now. Growing up gay, I always played with my mom's heels and jewels and all of that, and Halloweens, and in college, I loved showing up to the frat party and having all of the straight boys flirt with me because they had no idea I was a drag queen. Oh, that was always fun. Cacophony was born on tour with the show, a long-running tour. We would often throw these theme parties, and we threw a drag party where we literally had everyone in the cast, all 51 of us, came in drag, including the tech guys and everybody. I mean, it wasn't always good drag, but all of the gay men in the cast went full out and learned how to glue down our eyebrows and carve out hip pads out of foam in our hotel rooms, and really went full out and did lip syncs together and the whole thing, and came up with names, and that my name was Cacophony Daniels because I was always being told in the show by the music director that I was singing too loudly. So the pandemic has been an emotional roller coaster. Of course, there was boredom and fear at first. I've always been a good sleeper, but I've had a couple of legitimately sleepless nights worried about the pandemic. But, more about the political climate, especially given, the Supreme Court. My marriage and my family are at stake here. And that's really scary. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, my husband and I started talking very seriously about moving out of the country because we see a very clear pathway for our rights to be removed from us. And we are lucky that we live in a progressive state, in a progressive city, but we feel helpless. Helpless to make any kind of change. I'm going to vote, and I've trained to be a poll worker on election day, but none of that matters if the administration is going to turn around and invalidate the votes or the election. So that's really scary, especially when it comes to, raising our son and all of that. And looking at the logistics of moving out of the country are scary. And frankly, no one will take us right now. I mean, we're still in the worst country in the world for this pandemic. And that's sad and depressing and scary. The places where we might be able to go as a queer family are limited anyway. The fact that no one wants us. So, what do we do? It helps that my son is back in school now, a freshman in high school, which is a lot in its own ways, in so many ways. And yeah, he's the best thing that's ever happened to us. So every day we get up at the same time. I make sure that he's got breakfast, started his first class, and then I can kind of start focusing on me. I go for a run or I work out, which has been really important to me because I have a closet full of gowns that I have to fit into. And it's good for my mental health to have a physical outlet as well. I guess feeling that I have this community of people who are depending on me. Well, not dependent, not life or death depending, but who are looking forward to something. My husband is still able to work remotely for an AIDS services nonprofit, and I see him working so diligently on that motivates me to go, okay, well, if he can work so hard for all of those people, then I can learn a couple of songs and make a wig. My husband Jason and I have been together for 17 years, married for 14. I had to do a little math there. And when we got married, it wasn't legal. It was just something that we did with my family. I'm lucky to come from a really progressive, accepting family. So my dad is a minister. He married us on the beach. It was wonderful. My husband, on our second date, said, I want to have kids by the time I'm 35. And I was like, whoa. I didn't. He was just putting out life goals. I was always really unsure about having a kid. When we were finally licensed as foster parents, my husband found our son's profile on a website called Heart Galleries. We didn't set out looking for a queer kid, but he is. There was a video and he sat and he crossed his legs in a very fabulous kind of way. And he talked about loving to sing and all of that. And he was 10 at the time. My husband's background is in policy, especially when it comes to queer youth. And he said, look, here's this kid in the foster system. We could literally be saving his life if we bring him into our home. And so we went to meet him, and of course, fell in love with him because he's the most amazing kid in the entire world. And he loves to dabble in drag too, and all of that. And he's the first person to say that he's extra, because he is. And so we've built this little world, which then is really scary, that it could all be the rug could be pulled out from under us with all the things that are happening in our world. Kind of my generation and older, there are a lot of people who don't speak to their families on a regular basis, who can't share their lives with their hometown communities the way that they might want to, the way that any normal person might be able to. So, the fact that I can help people in a tiny way recreate that experience so they don't feel those lonely things, I think that is essential. Togetherness and a feeling of belonging somewhere is an essential thing. I can rely on myself more than I thought. When we need to, we can do just fine in our little family unit that we got here. that is work and school and home and cooking and showplace and storage and mental health and garden, that has become our little world. And frankly, just to have a fucking laugh, right? Oh.